for Essbase integration service, require for Essbase integration console. So three interface user interface, corresponding to each interface there is a middle tier solution. Every time user request, my user located in US, my database, my Essbase cube located in India. Physically there are different locations. How the data packet will travel? Through HTTP protocol over HTTP and TCP/IP, and it is your middle tier responsible to carry the protocol, carry the data packets to the database server, and finally is your database server. We also have a metadata layer at the bottom. We'll discuss this metadata layer along with your Essbase administration service and integration service. So it's a straightforward multi-tier diagram. You may have multiple Essbase cube, multiple middle tier, and many clients. There could be many-to-many relation. Okay, now we come to the point. Now we discuss about setting up Essbase server. I've given the video for the same. I quickly browse it. Now assume this is the architecture. When you first time start your cube, depends upon the version, you make sure your Essbase server is up and running. So my Essbase server is running, right? If you're using 11.113, or you can also manually invoke Essbase server, You can explicitly invoke the Essbase server. Either you deploy it as a Windows service, or you can manually invoke it. Any one of the way you can use. Once your Essbase server is up and running, how do you can share? A quick way to check it, your essbase.exe should be up and running. Essbase.exe is running. It means my server is running. But it doesn't guarantee that it is Essbase server is running, means your server will also respond. It is very high level view. Okay, so start the Essbase server first. Start Essbase server. Now next is we need to connect Essbase administration service with Essbase server. See, we cannot connect to Essbase server. We cannot communicate directly to Essbase server. We need some interface, right? We need some interface. So Essbase administration service is an interface for the developers. So the next step, you start Essbase administration service. You start Essbase administration service. This is the second step. You start Essbase administration service. It should be up and running. Maybe you can start directly from there, or as a service also you can find Essbase administration service should be running. So every time you submit request, this is responsible to take your request to the Essbase database server. Then you start Essbase administration console. This is the actual interface. Administration service console. Whenever you use a term called console, it means a user interface. Now my Essbase administration console, my client, I assume my client, this is client located in India, but my server is my multiple servers. I've got one server in USA, another server in Japan, another server in India. I don't have to be in personal or available in the physical server. The server could be located anywhere geographically, and we should be able to perform administration, right? That is what happened. So when you start Asbase administration service first time, you need to connect to the server name. So specify your system where your client server is running or Asbase administration service is running. Specify server name. The default user is admin and password is password. Once you are connected, you can see connected over here. You can see Asbase server has a plus now, right? All the Asbase servers located across the globe would be listed over here. How do you configure them? It's pretty simple. Right click, add server. Make sure your server is available and physically running over there. Name of the server, I assume this is the server. I just assume. This is my server. Just specify the server IP address and connect. So Asbase administration services will locate based on the IP address and connect to the server. In my case, there is no such physical server exist. I'm running only one Asbase server. You can connect any n number of Asbase server through one user interface. So I've got one user interface, but multiple servers can be administration from one user interface. Now it will search and say the server does not found. It's taking time because my services are trying to locate this IP address and pinging 5 times it pings and wait for the response. It keep on pinging to the server, but the server is not responding. At the end of the day, it found that there is no such physical server exists, or my client is unable to reach to the server. This is what the client says. So if I had the server, if the server would there, it would have been added over here. So one user interface, multiple Asbase server can be connected. Right click and server IP address. So for your local server, you can write your own system name. Likewise, I write my system name, Amit PC, username, and password. It is already exists. It says it already exists over here. Okay. Once your server is added, in a plus sign you can see there multiple tree structure. You click on application. There are certain applications comes along with your Asbase installation. These are called sample application. So sample application could be a good start to understand the fundamentals about Asbase Cube, but they do not talk about business specific solution. They are generic solution. So, but the sample application designed in such a way that it covers all the important aspects of the product. So when Oracle consultant go to the client and they were asked to demonstrate the product, they choose one of these sample application to demonstrate the product. Therefore, they intelligently design this application to touch base all the important aspects of the cube. So we are going to do the same thing. We'll follow the approach Oracle follows. We'll be starting our learning from sample, name of application, and basic name of my outline. Sample basic we'll start with. This would be a starting point. And as we move further, we create our own application and outline. Depends upon considering certain requirements, maybe for domain specific finance, HR, or some specific domain. For now, these are the built-in application. If you're able to see application and database, it means your Asbase server and Asbase administration services correctly installed and configured. However, if you are unable to see them, it means there is something wrong. So this is pretty simple configuration. That's it. You don't require any other thing, anything else. Only point you need to remember over here, that your client and server could be anywhere else. Now I'm going to show you one diagram to make it complete view. Now I've got a client. This is my architecture. My Essbase admin server, my Essbase administration services running in one server. It is running, let's say, in Japan, right? And my client's Essbase administration services running in Japan, right? And we want to connect to this through client India. I've got China and physical. Multiple clients are in different geographical location, and I've got multiple Essbase server. So the server which is located in USA, let's talk about all the, because we are building a data mart, so one data mart could talk about one subject area. So maybe the server located in USA is talk about all the order processing, order analytics. All the time you receive the order, you want to perform analysis on top of that. So the server which located in US, Kansas, does talk about all these things. There's another server in Japan. This server talk about, this server has information about customer retention, order processing, there are multiple cubes. Customer retention, there are also multiple cubes. And there's another server located in China which has all the information for product profitability. Now there may be multiple servers across the globe running, but for me as a client, I want to see all of them through a single interface. Server may be geographically running anywhere, but through Essbase administration services, we can connect to any server. When I log in to Essbase administration service, now I'm going to log into Japan's server, which is logically not exist. Okay, so I've got two server, Amit PC and Japan server. At this moment is showing unknown host. So through Japan server, I'm going to connect to these three Essbase cube, right? Because this server does not actually exist. If a word exists, right click and connect and specify various information about server name and password. And then we can keep on adding n number of server. You can see Essbase server has no application. Why? Essbase server has no application because my administration service is unable to recognize. Therefore, I am not able to connect to Japan. Therefore, I am not able to connect to any of the Essbase server. So the moment, and there is another Essbase server. Essbase admin service is Japan and India. Japan has these server connected. India has some other server connected. Let's say some of them are common.